I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's going to be very important if anyone's speaking that they get right on the microphone and speak at a good high voice. Don't mumble. We have a meeting, a special town meeting. I'll call on the town clerk to read the call to the meeting and the constable's return. Call to the meeting and the constable's return.
Worcester SS. Worcester SS. To a constable in the town of Berlin. Greetings. How's that? In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Berlin qualified to vote in town elections and town affairs to meet at the Berlin Memorial School Gym, 34 South Street, Berlin, Mass. On Monday, the 17th of June, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Then and there to act on the following article in relation thereto. Namely, and you are directed to serve this warrant by posting up attested copies thereof as per vote of the town in said town 14 days at least before the time of holding said meeting. Given under our hands this 20th day of May 2024, Berlin Select Board, Margaret Stone, Chair, R. Scott Hawkins, Vice Chair, Christine Keefe, Clerk. Posted as required on May 28th, 2024 by Kevin Pond, Constable.
I'm going to ask you to take the voting devices which have been passed out to you, and we're going to do a little test vote. This is just to make sure everything's working right, and I'll ask you to just take the device and push either yes or no. Ready? Right now. On the little screen on the device, it should show OK if the system has recorded your vote. You should be able to see a little OK there. If you have reason to think that it's not recording, we need to know. This looks like more than 500 people. What the hell is this going to me? We got a result on it, 519, huh? Can't believe we don't have more than that.
You can double check to make sure that everyone says okay.
Again, the screen on your voting device should say OK if you pressed one of the buttons on it. Well, if that's what we got, that's what we got.
Yeah, I can check how many. I can check how many we haven't distributed.
Yeah. Let's clear this one and vote the bylaw in and see what happens. Okay, we have to vote on the table when you came in were copies of the bylaw, which we pass each time we have a meeting that allows us to use the electronic voting in place of standing votes, shows of hands, and paper ballots. It gives us a more accurate and quicker way to do those votes. And therefore, I'm going to ask you now, is there a motion to adopt the rule? I hear the motion moved and seconded, and I'll ask you to vote electronically. All those in favor of using electronic voting, please push yes. Those opposed to it, push no. Now. Is a motion ready? Come down front. There are empty chairs in the front of the room. Okay, what's the vote on that? I'll call a stop to voting on the bylaw, on the rule for electronic voting. 508 yes, 16 no. The rule is adopted. Thank you. I'm going to read Article 1 in just a minute.
They get tallied up at the end of the second.
Scott, you're going to get right on the mic and yell. We have some word that there is agreement, so be patient.
I move to raise and appropriate the
No,
sum
you
of
got to get
$8 million.
right on the microphone and you got to really yell.
I move to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,144,810 and to transfer the sum of $297,385 in free cash to fund the regional school district assessment.
The motion is, I move to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,144,810 and to transfer the sum of $297,385 from free cash to fund the regional school district assessment. Scott? We're hearing from the Finance Committee at this point.
All right, we're just going to work out to make sure we have the exact dollar amount. It's not working?
Can you hear out of this one?
Do you- Is this better? Okay, we'll work out to make sure we have the exact dollar amount, but we have come to an agreement on this budget. So where we were at town meeting, so there has been a few
Excuse me,
adjustments.
Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very large group. You can't talk to your neighbor. You've got to all be quiet so someone can be... Everyone has to be still in order to hear the speaker. Scott, speak loudly.
Okay, thank you. So the changes from town meeting and what was between the school committee's recommended budget and also the finance committee's recommended budget. The schools have agreed to additional combination of cuts and revenue added to the budget from school choice of $225,000 before we came into today. They have agreed to an additional $150,790 for additional revenues applied to the budget. The Finance Committee has recommended increasing the levy, so the levy would be increased to approximately 4.25%, and that added an additional approximately 255,000, or no, 25. $259,790 and additional free cash of $116,000 to bring us all into an agreement. We will do some quick calculations to make sure we've got this down to the dollar exactly, but that is where we're at.
It is my understanding we have an agreement on this motion from school committee. Yes. Someone from school committee wish to speak on it.
Hi, my name is Megan Grill. I'm the chair of the BBRSD School Committee, and Scott is correct. We literally just minutes ago voted to use $150,000 of our revenue towards the budget. So I apologize. I know it's hot in here that you've all been sitting in here, but that was what the holdup was, is we were trying to come to an agreement to make this easier for everybody. You couldn't hear that?
You have to speak as loudly as you can through the microphone.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, I said I am sorry that you all had to wait in here, but what we were doing is we were meeting the school committee with the finance committee, and we did in fact agree to use another $150,000 of our revenue towards the Berlin budget, so that will lower the assessment even more. And so what Scott had said is that we have to recalculate that number for you to vote on. So I appreciate everybody sitting in this warm gym and waiting. It'll just be another minute, okay? Thank you.
Is there anything else to be said on the motion? If not, the motion is to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,144,810 and to transfer the sum of $297,385 from free cash to fund the regional school district assessment. I'll ask you to vote electronically. What? I'm sorry, there's a hand up. Okay, come forward. What?
Sorry, Heidi Petard, Derby Road. I believe this is a little too late.
You
for
need to speak more
negotiations.
loudly into the mic.
I prepared something to say tonight, and even though there has been a potential agreement come to, I still feel it needs to be said. Many of the families here in Berlin are rooted here by multiple generations. This town was funded by hardworking, blue-collar people. These blue-collar workers are still the foundation of essential workers that keep things running. Farmers, carpenters, construction workers, auto mechanics, electricians, plumbers, welders, landscapers. Where would we all be without them? Our quiet little town of Berlin has a population of 3,514 residents. 9% of our population is under 9 years old. Another 9% are ages 10 to 19. So that means less than 18% of our population is school-aged. 35% of our residents are 60 years old or older. 12% of our residents that are 65 years or older are living at the poverty level. The median household income in this town is $123,077. These are the most vulnerable in our community, the people living at that medium income and our senior citizens. Think about how they are trying to work a budget with all the increases in costs for the very basic things to live comfortably. The Berlin, and this is directed towards the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District School Committee. I know you've come up with an agreement, so this was based on the previous numbers in the original numbers on the town warrant. How dare you submit a budget to the taxpayers of Berlin with a funding gap of $741,312, especially after breaching a fiscal year 24 agreement that $382,715 meant to cover unexpected special education out-of-district costs would not become part of the operating budget, when indeed it has. On May 6, 2024, the Berlin Town Meeting failed to approve the fiscal year 25 operating and capital assessment budget for BMS. The following day, the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District Committee held a meeting to reconsider these budgets. At that meeting, the school committee approved a revised capital budget for BMS, removing $400,000 for an HVAC system upgrade, an amount that should not have been in the budget in the first place, as proper bids had not been obtained or reviewed with capital planning, and then tried to pass it off as a savings to the town. I think this is quite insulting to the intelligence and integrity of the people of Berlin. Since the annual town meeting, Berlin's Finance Committee and Select Board have been requesting financial information from the school committee, expenses and revenues, in an attempt to come to a budget that is fair and equitable to all our residents. This is where the true lack of transparency and cooperation became quite clear. The requested numbers have trickled into Finance Committee and Select Board in bits and pieces. On one occasion, requested information from the school committee was received by the Finance Committee 5 minutes prior to the start of a meeting between the two committees, leaving zero time for the Finance Committee to review, analyze, and understand the information given. During this information gathering process, errors and omissions have been discovered, adding up to a substantial amount of money. Every penny, every dollar makes a difference. Yes, costs to operate a school are going up, but so are all other department expenses and household expenses. We are all feeling the impact of the current overall economy. Since March of 2020, the cost of food has gone up 25%, electricity 18%, gas 48%, credit card debt 47%, home heating oil has more than doubled. Then you factor in other cost increases such as insurance and out-of-pocket medical expenses. I am tapped out, as I'm sure many others are. My tax bill increased $948 from fiscal year 23 to fiscal 24. If the proposed budget, meaning the previous budget, so I know these numbers will be a little incorrect, if the proposed budget passes, my increase from fiscal year 24 to 25 would have been $1,777. That is a total increase of $2,725. That is a lot of money to factor into my household budget in such a short period of time. So is it morally and ethically okay to tax medium-income families and senior citizens out of their homes, out of town? Because that is a reality for many of us. I have been a resident for 30 years. The town of Berlin and my house are the only home my 3 children have known. So the real issue at hand is not whether the school should be funded, but rather is the budget presented necessary and fiscally responsible. I say no, it is not, no matter what changes have been made. There are too many errors and omissions and such a lack of transparency and lack of cooperation from the school committee to work with the other committees. For me to support any budget proposed by the school committee at this time is a no. I think the best choice at this time is to vote no, allowing for the state to step in, sort things out, and get to the bottom of the errors and omissions that have been discovered. Come back to the residents of Berlin with a clear, concise budget that we can all have confidence in, a budget where all expenses and revenues have been compiled and presented. I hope the Berlin-Boylston School Committee not only hears me and understands my frustration, but is also listening to what I have to say. Thank you.
We can spend a lot of time debating if we want to, but we do have an agreement between the Finance Committee and the School Committee at the present time. Are you ready to vote on that? The motion is to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,144,810 and to transfer the sum of $297,385 from free cash to fund the regional school district assessment. We will vote electronically. I'll ask you, we'll open the voting now, and I'll ask you to vote yes or no with your electronic device. She's still
Yes. Yes. Yes, we will. Yes, we
closed.
He's getting 2 other people for these doors. We're going to close those doors. Okay.
Should have. I will declare the voting closed and we'll get the results. $339 yes, 191 no. The motion passes in the affirmative. We're going to need just a little bit of patience before we break the meeting up, okay? When we dismiss you, because the next motion is going to be to dissolve the meeting, when we dismiss you, we're going to ask that you leave either through the 2 doors in the back or the 2 doors on your right that go out toward the parking lot. Please do not leave through these 2 doors on this side. You got 4 ways to go, and we're collecting the voting devices. It's very important. We borrowed these for this meeting, and we need them back. We'll also happily welcome you to help us with picking up chairs after the meeting. Is there a motion to dissolve the meeting? Motion made and seconded to dissolve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. The meeting is dissolved. Thank you for your cooperation.